What's up, everybody? Welcome to CFP Talks. My name is Jonas. And with me, as always, is Mr. David, studious, nerdy Fuchs. Look at him with his
Yeah,
glasses, looking looking like a college professor today on
no,
his on in office hours.
that's actually pretty accurate. It's just funny all the different like looks that you like. You're like, look at this sharp looking stud with this like with his clean shaven, and he's got he's looking good. He's got his good hair day, and then today it's look at this nerd.
Nerd.
Look at this fucking nerd.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing
No,
wrong with being a nerd. This is the.
no, I think that the nerd look actually gets more attractive as you get older.
I agree with
You
that.
know what I mean?
Oh, I
Like
agree with that.
now glasses are kind of sexy. When I was, when you're younger, for, your teenagers, whatever, glasses like is,
Dude,
no,
I hated wearing glasses at school because like I didn't want to be made fun of, and I got contacts in like maybe sixth or seventh grade because I'd never wanted to wear glasses. And like you would wear glasses on the weekends, like when you woke
yeah,
up in the morning and you didn't want to put
yeah.
your contacts in,
Or at night when you take them out.
and like I'm hanging out at night or whatever, and that was like it was not cool. And then all of a sudden, at some point, they just got to be like
I got cool. Yeah,
they're sexy like that
yeah.
and that frame too, and that frame was not that cool 20 years ago.
No, no, I know. This is a new the thick frames and like the kind of square look.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this is a new trendy thing.
right. They would like put the tape in the middle, and that's like when everybody dressed up as a nerd with the like the hat
Yeah.
with the little thing on the top, like that's what they would do.
Hmm.
But speaking of nerds,
Yeah.
let's talk about the CFP.
Mhm. Yeah.
Let's talk about, in our last video we talked about getting started with your prep and setting the precedent for the rest of your prep. In what I was hoping that we could talk a little bit about so people understand is shortcutting your prep. And I think a lot of people have misconceptions on what this means because this is not an inference to time. This is an inference to how you do your preparation.
Hmm.
So, as a teacher, I see this all the time where somebody tries to do the Q bank to learn a topic instead of learning the topic and then doing a Q bank. And it's the surest way to confuse yourself on a topic because you know the way CFP is. They'll quiz something in five, six, seven different ways. And so now you have five, six, or seven iterations of a concept, and you learning it from the Q bank think, oh, this is the way this concept goes. Oh, wait, I did it last time like this, but now it's like this. How does this wrong? Oh, wait, now it's like this. How did I get this one wrong? I thought it was like the other two.
We talk about that all the time.
Right. So
All the time.
obviously the Q bank is a big one because everybody's version of studying is I'm going to read like, from whatever provider that I have. I'm going to read their either shortened version of the book, maybe I'll reread the chapters of the long version of their books, and then I will dive into doing some sort of a practice quiz, whether that's topic specific or maybe it's an end of chapter or end of session quiz. And that's my version of studying. I do read and then I do a quiz, and I read and I do a quiz. And although it is a way of studying, I find that it ends up breeding more memorization and shortcuts than actual understanding, which kind of blows up in your face on exam day because CFP will hand you some questions that are straight up and easy. But a majority of the questions now, and it seems like the way they're moving and the way that they're designing the exam, is it's going across topic,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's now I'm combining investment and estate together. And
That's definitely, I mean, that's how it was for me to a deep extent. It was a lot of combining topics.
right. And that's where things get tricky. Is like when you're going through a practice question, and I know like as we get closer and closer to the exam in our classes, and we're starting now to combine, we're now saying, okay, no more just investment specific questions. Here's a mutual fund that a client has. They dollar cost average the mutual fund, figure out not only their return on it, figure out their tax implication of it, and then tell me if this is something that gets stepped up in an estate. And now we're cross referencing two or three different things where it's now
Three.
investment,
Yeah.
estate,
And
and
tax.
tax. Now this is like, oh my God, what do I do with this? And this is where your shortcuts really start to fall short.
Yeah, that's where you can say you are gonna get exposed. I think that's the word that's how that's the word to use right there. You know, when and again, just to analogize it to sports like we always do, there's a lot of, you can be a good team, you could be playing a lot of bad teams, and that's why you're undefeated, or you're getting lucky because with calls or whatever. And then the moment you step out there against a legitimate team that has a game plan, that has a strategy to shut down your strengths, you fold and you ultimately get exposed. So that's where you get exposed really, really hard. And on this exam, this is an exam where if you are a fraud, or if you're doing stuff, and by fraud, I don't mean that in a deceptive way. I mean that in a you don't really know you don't really know the stuff type of way. You'll get exposed quickly, very quickly on this exam.
I agree. I agree. I think if you have, it's like watching a team that has one really good player that doesn't pay cohesively, and you watch them, and that player goes off for 40 points. You're like, they won the game. Yay, great. We're in the playoffs. Okay, they double team that player, and nobody else can hit a shot.
Hmm.
And this is the Cleveland Cavs for 10 years, right? When they had LeBron. They had one good player, and if they learned how to shut down LeBron, and they tried and they really couldn't, but nobody else could beat them, right? And so when your weaknesses get exposed, there's three things in my opinion that happens. One, you start running out of time because you're
Yeah.
working so hard for one, two, three answers,
Hmm.
right? Two is you underestimate how tiring it's going to be when you don't know things and you really have to work for the answer. So not only do you run out of time, even if you are working through and you're working hard, but you're working at a good pace, you get to question 85 and you're like, oh my God,
Hmm.
I'm destroyed. Like, I don't, I can't, I like, I'm so tired. I can't even go into the second half of the exam. And if I do, that's when I start making all the silly mistakes.
Hmm.
And then three, and I think this is the worst part of it, is it knocks you so far back on your heels, you kind of go deer in headlights. So like, I'm
Yeah.
not. It's so discouraging because you're like, I thought I knew the material, but I don't. Right. And that is the one that hurts the most because you walk in with that false sense of confidence
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you get knocked back and now you're questioning and you're over analyzing, overthinking every single answer.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the sh like when we talk about shortcuts, what's the main one you just mentioned earlier is just doing questions and over and reading the explanations, and that's your way of studying. That is because I think a lot of people do that and they end up, whether it's because they're taking duplicate questions and they basically memorize them at that point, but they usually end up doing pretty well on on their mock exams or on the quizzes that they're taking because they're just going question by question and they're getting a lot of the same ones. And you go in on the exam day and you just get trounced
Right.
because and that's worse than going in and being a little unconfident because you're like, oh, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I did my best when I studied. And then, the exam happens and whatever happens, happens. When you go in with with doing the shortcuts and that false sense of confidence, and then you get exposed, that's really tough to take.
Mm. And for a lot of people, they're gonna get exposed more so on mock exams and they'll know it. And it's so completely discouraging going into the exam. Like, there's nothing worse than like Okay, I'm going to take my last mock exam 3 or 4 days out from the exam, right? My exam is on Thursday. I'm going to take my last mock on Monday. I've planned ahead. I've done all the good stuff that Joe and David recommend on CFP Talks. Great. I go in, I take that mock, and I get a 61, right? And here's the worst part about it,
It's
David.
a slap in the
I
face.
I felt good going through it.
Right.
And then when I saw the score, I was like, oh, that hurts. Right. And this is and a lot of times, there's obviously just going through the questions, but the other part of it is that you created little shortcuts in your brain. When I see self-employed person, I think SEP IRA, not always the solution.
Right.
Right. When I see this, I think this. When I see this, an association is not a bad thing, but it is not a complete solution. Right. And I think that's the hardest part of this is that if you're going in with this expectation that CFP won't test you on this, that, or the other thing, you're wrong. They can test you on whatever they want. They can make the exam as easy or as hard. They can give you 20 time value of money. They can give you 2 time value of money. They can test you in any way that they want. So if you're going in with the expectation that if I see this, I do this, or I think this, and you haven't gone through the steps, you don't have a process, you're following a heuristic, that's when you're going to get yourself in trouble.
For sure.
Right. And we see this with
100%.
our clients too, right? I just max out my 401k. Okay, great. It'll get you somewhere, but it may not get you to where you want to go.
Hmm.
Right. And this is
Hmm.
like the same thing that our clients do. And this is why we learn behavioral finance is that a lot of clients are acting in their financial portfolios under some sort of heuristic,
Yeah.
right? Some sort of shortcut that they've created, right? When a stock goes down 20%, I buy it.
Right.
Why? Why would you do that, right? Right? Not every stock that comes down bounces back up. Are there certain scenarios where that's true? Sure. But have there need you and hopefully your CFP professional are figuring out a better way of than just that, right? The S&P always goes up. I just invest in the S&P. Cool. That is an investment strategy, you know, but if you're looking at other areas of financial, I don't worry about anything else. Well, look, dude, you got $25,000 of car insurance coverage. You get into a car accident, your entire portfolio gets wiped.
Mm.
All right. And most people are walking around underinsured and overconfident.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing here in the exam. You're walking around overconfident and your
Under,
fundamentals are less
under,
than
yeah, under,
under fundamental.
under, yeah. I was gonna say underinsured, but yeah, like under, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right. And that's where I think this is where most of our students get in trouble is you're you're you do the grind work. And that's kind of the hard that's the hardest part to kind of reconcile in your brain is I did the hard work. I sat there and I grinded through 1,000 questions, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000. I went through this Q bank 2 times, Joe. I get it. You still got to learn the material. No way around it. No shortcuts.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
Good. No shortcuts. Wrap it up.
Should we be like Bruce Springsteen? No retreat, baby, no surrender. You guys get serenaded in some of these episodes too. We're
Yeah.
for full service show.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. With any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to David or myself. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you guys don't miss a single episode of CFP Talks. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.